And Facility, they're here. My boy, Mistakes.
The look on your face is so happy right now.
That's Mistakes. He's there. And
back.
Also the question of Facility, people have been asking for a long time. So Montreal, they are fielding their new lineup now. They have J. Carl on the main tank, and then Facility on Flex CPS. Mistakes filling into that Logic's role. We have Wave Check Montreal here on the first.
Which also calls to the idea, never believe a player when they say they're retired. They're just on a break.
See both squads going to be trading out some of this early poke damage. Crack-Lackin' though finding Ultraviolet early with that push. Wave Check trying to follow up though.
Vex getting serious pressure into the back line on the Sombra, and Smek's proving to be pretty versatile. A D.Va player that can actually play the Sombra at a high level. Not every D.Va player can. In Montreal, they're going to be giving up first control here, but they essentially won the first fight, so they should be able to roll back over. Wave Check for now. Just sitting around. And Montreal, despite getting early pickups, they've been pretty sluggish, and in fact, Mistakes in a rough spot ends up falling. What happened there?
I mean, they have these early pickups, but they still need to win the point presence. They need to win the fight. And Wave Check, they're playing 3-3. They're playing 3-3 right now. They're playing that triple tank. They have that extra presence, that extra meat. And if you don't win those early first fights, or if you do win, you still have to get the point presence. You still have to get the flip. You don't want to trade out frags. Because if you trade out players when you're playing triple DPS, the Meteor tank-heavy team, the 3-3, the Sombra Ghost team will always win.
They're all going to be under pressure. Wave Check moves over and in. And Bionade hanging back. Jakaru, nothing to be done. Low HP and no healing coming on through. And Wave Check starting out pretty strong here despite suffering some of the DPS of Montreal. It didn't matter much.
They forced Montreal now onto a Sombra Ghost setup. They build up their ults, and Wave Check making sure to abuse the fact that since Smex is on Sombra, there's no D.Va to shield presence, there's no D.Va to really hunt loot, there's no D.Va to hunt their backline. They have that extra damage. Wave Check can be extremely aggressive here, deny the space for Montreal.
So already big advantage of the Wave Check. They're going to use the nano boosted Winston to dive on in. And Luke can just use Primal, and going to use Primal, gets a disruption. Jakaru already down. And Smex has had EMP for a long time, but they haven't had an engage to use it on yet.
This is the fight where Montreal, after losing that previous fight, they must win this fight. They must win this fight. Because otherwise they lose the round. They have EMP, they know there's no nano, there's no tank ult, there's no rally. They need to go forward aggressively, they need to set up the EMP and take the fight to point.
Marton gonna connect here, Wave Check moving on in. Bionade though hanging Wave Check as they move in, doesn't matter. Self-destruct from Crack-Lackin strikes, and that's a late EMP by Smex. Smex was just holding on to the EMP for such a long period of time, and now it doesn't matter. Overtime ticking down, and that is a decisive 99-0 out from Wave Check.
And that was before Tensa could get even a single beat or Mistakes a single grab. Neither one of them had an ult that round at all. Smex needed to EMP sooner. They also needed to realize that the grab was going to be available for Wave Check. It's a free grab because there's no D.Va to eat. They don't have a Transcendence because they're playing Ultraviolet on the Ana. Montreal, on top of losing that first fight after what looked good in their initial triple DPS, they just didn't play their win conditions.
Also, I do wonder what ping Mistakes is on right now, where Montreal's academy team, he might be in the States right now, but it's also, given the recent nature of the pickup, you said Mistakes lives in Siberia, right?
Definitely in Europe. I don't know if he's made back. I mean, I know his parents live in Spain, so he could be living in Spain. He could be in Russia, for all we know. I don't know exactly where Mistakes is currently, but he's in Europe.
Okay, so regardless, he is playing with higher ping.
He is definitely playing with higher ping unless he has gotten a visa to the States very recently.
So that might be impacting Mistakes' performance relative to what we know he's capable of here. All right, gonna see the sleep coming on the Jakaru. Wave Check, not really in a great position to fall on up, and again, actual under pressure, Vizildi hunting it on down. 6 on 5 for Montreal. And now let's see if the point presence to back it on up versus Wave Check's, more standard composition. Vizildi, room to work with here, one rocket after another, and Montreal, in addition to winning the first fight this time, they should also get first control.
Much stronger first fight here for Montreal. As you see, they need to pick up the Lucio so they can actually get the flip. Gets the bubble now going to be swapped. You see Wave Check making some swaps here. Or at least they should make some swaps. They need to go on the Sombra. They need to get Jade off the Brigida here. Because once again, the problem you run into when it's triple DPS and you're not running Sombra and you have a Brigida is, what does your Brigida do? Sure, you can peel for your backline, but most of the time, the spam, the poke, the movement abilities from Montreal along their distance, it's going to be tough for your Brigida to get a lot of value.
Zildi again, just looking for poke damage. Pretty meaty targets here. The EMP make it so easy! Another highlight reel for Afara here today. And that one was very well set up by Specs.
Notice as well, ZP, that because of how quickly these fights are occurring, sure, they just won two fights. They used to support winning ults as well. They don't have their barrage or the EMP anymore from Montreal. But WaveCheck's ult economy is still extremely low. They're also running a Winston rather than the Rhine, which is fine, because you need the Winston to help deny some of the space. But without a Shatter, that's one less ult that is easily able to win a fight for WaveCheck to now enter in with the Nano.
They open up with the Nano here. Jakaru, though, gets into the backline. Pile drives on down. Montreal looking much better here. Just about every player having their moment in facility. Hunting down Brigitte, who's just pointlessly flailing the mace. Going back to kind of the futility you were talking about earlier.
And now for WaveCheck, you look at this scenario where they sort of have to make swaps again, but they can't move Jade because they're about to have the Rally, and Rally is very strong versus this composition. It just is tough for Montreal to burn it through in any way. But Tensa will have the Valkyrie, allowing for a lot of damage to come out from Montreal. And even if they lose this fight, they can build up an EMP for the next. They don't have to win this fight if you're Montreal.
Final fight coming up here from WaveCheck to turn this around. Facility into the backline, gonna find another. Ana already down, 6 on 5. Facility moving up and over. Jakaru setting the stage, and the barrage in over the top does not quite land the way that Facility would have liked it, but still very much advantage here. The Montreal, they're gonna get the resurrection off. Not enough pressure to deny it. Egan coming on in. But again, it's Montreal in firm control right now. WaveCheck just desperately hoping for the miracle. But just too much pressure on the point.
Jade will pop that Rally, allowing them to come back into the point to recontest. You have the armor pack, and now you see the flip happening, WaveCheck. That's the power of the Rally. They had so much health, and then the Rally gets there in time. It's tough for Montreal to finish it up. But as soon as this armor's poked away, mistakes, picking one, Specs is going to EMP, Ultraviolet's probably going to nano Jakaru, and that will be that.
Montreal coming back in, but Krakalakin, the bomb strikes the back. 2 end up falling, and Montreal might regret backing up and not fighting that one more tooth and nail when they had such advantage. Mistakes, though, another 2. However, WaveCheck can control the point, and you know, one upside about their composition, they are tankier.
Are much tankier. Higan is going to be back on the Tracer, denying the space. Montreal, they need to regroup. They need to regroup. They use the Nano. They use the EMP. They got the Nano out of WaveCheck. They got some of the ults, and they forced WaveCheck onto a 2-2-2. And now they're in a position where, as long as they protect mistakes and visibility, they have the ult ad, they should be in a great spot to slowly win the fight. They just can't give up picks early.
Montreal hanging back. Mine's going to be used here early from Jakaru. Doing the more point presence halfway to the point. Info sight up. Facility searching around for some targets. In over the top. Got some blast to head on over to the opposite side. Meanwhile, Montreal getting poked down pretty heavily. Both Smex and Jakaru in a tougher spot. Facility even getting pushed back. And WaveCheck defending.
You see the Valkyrie use Facility cashing low again. They're going to back up. They're going to use the beat again. Actually going to be taking out Specs. No wing condition. Montreal, they need to get the picks right now because the longer they stay in this fight without an EMP, without Sombra, they could potentially be losing this round.
This is getting real scary. WaveCheck has almost brought themselves back from the brink. Montreal, mistakes to get on in the back, but they need more than that to displace a tankier setup. That's the problem of running DPS comp. They get the Hammond down. Now's the time for them to rotate backwards to point. Mistakes! They get easy with yet another pickoff. Again, Montreal got to put players back onto the point. They're doing that now, and mistakes cannot be stopped.
Montreal getting the flip off of mistakes. Widow's been getting so much value. Staying alive this entire time. None of WaveCheck able to pressure him effectively. Getting so many picks. Specs taking down Luft. And now Montreal, they own the point. They need to deny this aimbot, but they're just LOSing it. No frags coming at all for this aimbot.
It does buy a little bit of space to get back on top point, and actually, Zildi looked out of the sky. Jakaru heading back over. The resurrection back on in. Nano boosted Sombra. And Montreal just cleaning it up bit by bit here. WaveCheck unable to keep the contest going. That was closer, though, than it probably should have been.
The problem with the triple DPS that Montreal running is that at the end of the day, if you're not getting continuous frags, if you're not getting continuous pressure and forcing them off, if WaveCheck are playing compositions where they can get to the point, take away your space, and play through with a little bit tankier, if they're playing triple tank or even duo tank, which is what they were doing, they were denying the space for Montreal. And sure, they won in the end, but it was a lot closer than you thought because WaveCheck just played compositions that allowed them to own point a lot more effectively.
Well, you think about the fight where WaveCheck took the point, they were down 2 and damaged at that, and yet Montreal, and it might have been the right call, looked at the fight and said, actually, we can't fight this. and they backed out and they let wave check recap, and it got way too close for comfort. But now we're here on the third and definitive round 3 here in the base, and Montreal here on the Maycom.
Montreal's gonna be looking for the wall, tried to isolate anyone. Jade solo, Jade already down. And with the Brigitte gone, Montreal, they can play slow. Then as soon as the heals are up, they can go aggressive. Just look to get one person.
Moving on in, Luft in danger. Luft gonna fall! And Montreal in a very good spot for this first fight. And what's even better is that you make early with the May gamble. And now you have the wall, which is so incredibly oppressive when you're able to defend.
So Wavecheck are going to have to re-enter the point versus this May. Had to deal with that choke control that Smex brings while on this hero. They can't lose anyone. They can't get isolated. Looks like they're going to be rotating potentially to lower. Crackle is just going to be booping Tinsa off that high ground. He was able to look for the call, look for the scout, and now go for the high ground.
And the split comes on out. Wavecheck needing to stay alive till the wall falls on the other side. Heavy poke damage coming on in. Crackalacken about to get demeched. Crackalacken out of the mech. And Luke's going to be joining in just a moment. Good wall split from Smex to set that up.
Now Montreal can chase. They continue to get these frag mistakes, building up towards this grab. Chasing here into the spawn. Again, is able to keep that Zarya energy up, which is important. But Wavecheck, they've actually made the swap Crackalacken onto the Bay themselves. No D.Va, which I actually think is a much better play unless Crackalacken was looking to take off angles a lot more. Because D.Va against May and against a high charge Zarya is not a fun time.
Well, they're able to use the D.Va to head on out. And funny enough, I don't even think Smex was looking, but now Montreal going to respond with the Graviton, forcing out the Transcendence on the other side. Both teams getting into the Blizzard, making things awfully chilly here. Smex turned down the temperature. Facility there in the fall through. Montreal the first pick off. Spending a lot of ultimates for it here, even the Transcendence towards the very end. So they win the fight, but it does come at a dear cost.
It came at a dear cost to Wavecheck there as well. Because it wasn't just Montreal that had to invest so much. Wavecheck, they utilized their Trance, they utilized their Shatter, they put in Rally. That's 3 ults gone for them. They will hold on to the beat, they will have their grab for the following fight. But while Smex is on this May, and Facility has Rally and Tinta has beat, they have a lot of options to survive here.
Well, they open up the Graviton directly into the front line, trying to burn on down the barrier, though, keeping Montreal plenty alive. Jakaru, the counter charge, catches Ryan on the other side. And Montreal, a fantastic performance here on round 3, going to be giving them the round in the map swans. This Blizzard doesn't do much. Panic with 2, but I don't believe that's going to be enough. Overtime ticking down. And Wavecheck going for the last bit of stall here, but this should be Montreal's.
Panic is actually going to be able to get this Transcendence more than likely, but with Luft already going down. However, Ultraviolet is dead. Specs solo, going to be kept alive, but mistakes. High energy, 80% to grab. This fight is based around mistakes right now.
Mistakes, high energy, under pressure from Jade in the back line. Jade going to fall. Montreal dealing pretty well with the final pressure in Wavecheck. More than what you can usually expect when it is, but essentially over. Graviton going to be finishing off Luft. And it is going to be Montreal finishing out strong here on round 3. And then bring it on back after what was a worrying round 1 for them.
Montreal with their new additions here. We didn't even know about these until they were announced. So this is quite a surprise to myself. I was not expecting this lineup, honestly. Though there had been the mystery on Reddit of where Facility had gone.
Well, we figured he had to be going to some Contenders team, and of course now we've figured out where. I think the real surprise was Mistakes, where there was a point, correct if I'm wrong, Mistakes had announced, guys, I'm retired from Overwatch, it's it.
I mean, as far as I was aware, I did not think he was looking for another team.
No,
he was working with Team Russia for World Cup, but that was really about it. He wasn't even playing, he was GM.
The only thing I can assume here is that Toronto, the parent org of Montreal, just reached out to him and said, I know you said you're retired.
But are you really?
Yes.
But really, bro, are you though?
Are you though? We have money. Let's come back.
It can work. And it is a player that, you know, as someone that worked with him and saw him work and also saw his performance, and he was part of the 10-0 stage for Boston in Season 1 of Overwatch League. It was a player that flexed a lot, despite not having a lot of practice time previously, had a solid performance despite it not even being his role. He was originally a Tracer player, a very prolific Tracer player in EU, and now forced more into a hit scan role more than just a purely Tracer role that had to fill into some shoes, and just disappeared for a bit.
Well, he hailed from 123 was the team that he was from back in the day, and 123 was a team notable for producing incredible Tracer players. Mistakes was the first one, then he got poached, and you go, wait, what's 123 going to do now? And they pick up this little-known player known as Snillo. who of course would go on to join the Overwatch League, now a key member of Fusion University, still on a two-way contract. And it was weird to see Mistakes out of the scene. Very much glad to see him back. Also, again, good day for Faris here in terms of big highlight reel-worthy barrages.
So now wave check as we move into our second map of the series, looking to equalize. Montreal hoping to keep up their momentum. And when you look at the lineup that Montreal was playing on Busan, they seemed comfortable swapping between 3-3 and triple DPS. Seemed like they had the option to do both. We know that Montreal definitely has the DPS lineup to be playing triple DPS. It's more of the 3-3 question because I can let you know I can tell you for a fact, I have never seen Mistakes ever. Plays really a lot of Zarya. So, and it seems to be performing pretty well on it.
Definitely more comfortable on the Widow though, I'd say. The Widow from Montreal, very reliable there on point B. One thing that I found interesting is that I gave early praise to Smex on the Sombra, but I'm going to retract a little bit of it. Mechanically, Smex's Sombra seems to be quite good in building EMPs. Using the EMPs at the right moment, though, seems to be more of a trouble where instead of being the classic, the Sombra's good on all levels, I kind of look at more of, did you graduate from the Baby Bay School of Sombra? Is that what we're going to be seeing here, where you're going to build quick EMPs and then either not use them or throw them away? Hopefully not the case, but it was a little bit shakier for Smex.
Montreal going to be on this defense first. Looking that they're rolling out on a standard 3-3. No Sombra in play, though they will have Ultraviolet on the Ana for a little bit of flexibility against CPS compositions, against Sombra compositions. I really think it is a safer bet for a lot of teams to move forward in the meta to be playing just Sombra on the first defense regardless of Sombra Ana, because it gives you so many options along with the ability to beat 3-3 even. But going to be playing this, have J-Caro on the Winston to deny some space. Wave check, on the other hand, playing a pretty standard 3-3.
And again, if you're not going to be running out here on a DPS composition for first point Volskaya, you're saying, well, we understand our point A is going to be more difficult, but we want to snowball more readily into point B.
See Montreal on this high ground. Currently waiting for wave check to come in through the choke. Farm some ult. And J-Caro's looking to get cleave damage. Get a lot of cleave damage on these entries. Maybe even catch someone. They are going to catch someone, actually, with that boot from Tensa. Tensa just actually not even needing the boot. Finishing the frag himself. And J-Caro is 62% to that Primal.
Not only is that incredibly good for J-Caro's Primal build, but very difficult to get Zen back with the rest of the team when you're split. Now they're going to have to take another round of poke damage, charge up J-Caro even more, just to get their Zen back with the rest of the team.
And this is the risk that you run when you're on 3-3 and you're not punishing the Winston effectively, which a lot of teams, they want to rotate rather than punish the Winston, but you actually can look to punish that Winston on the rotation when you're running Rhyme. Is that the Primal's already up, Primal's up, and as long as J-Caro gets value, that's another free fight win.
Primal Red's coming out here from J-Caro. Builds it pretty early, getting reasonable disruption, but also getting boot back. I think Wave Check dealt with the early Primal pretty well here. Primal now faded, and Wave Check with opportunity.
Wave check making sure to put a lot of resources into now denying J-Caro. They've sort of learned from their mistakes so far. Facility dropping low, but it's going to have to rally. See Wave check pushing so aggressively, actually on the Mega.
Well, they push so aggressively, they end up losing blue. Montreal has potential to bring this back. They're getting poked down on all sides here, though. Facility out of the fight. J-Caro's super low, can't really go back in until healed. Spex's bomb doing precious little. And Mistakes on the top has grab, but doesn't get a good chance to drop it as Wave Check. Now starting to flood towards the point. They already have 33%. They're going to use the barrier, committing here versus J-Caro. And nowhere to go, a little bit too deep. And now Wave Check moving directly back onto the point. They're going to get the D-Mech, and that is it. Done and over with. Wave Check with point A. Not quite the ideal snowball on the point B, though. I think Montreal is completely okay with this.
It was a solid defense for Montreal, and like you said, there's no snowball really possibility for Wave Check. They had to invest that beat late. That could have been one of their only openers, but they don't have the beat now. They don't even have Transcendence, and Mistakes is going to have to grab. But if I'm Montreal, I'm looking to use this grab aggressively early, win the fight when there's no support ult.
Well, they use the grab super early, and it's well-timed. Gets Crackalakin as the bomb was hanging out, and that's just brutal for Wave Check. They were going for the aggressive engage, and they had no idea that Mistakes was just sitting there in the corner.
It was the double whammy. Because the aggressive engage comes out, so now they don't have a Diva Bomb to peel, and because Crackalakin's not a mech even to eat the grab because the bomb is already going out, there was just a free grab for Mistakes. They weren't expecting it. J-Caro got that double charge kill as he came through the grab. However, one of the benefits for Wave Check was that it was a very fast loss, so they didn't have to commit too much. They didn't really lose that much other than ult charge that they gave to Montreal.
Beat coming on out here from Montreal. Early pick off on the Hegan. Jakaro just heading off forward. They used the nano here on the mistakes, and no, that wasn't nano.
No, they used the beat. Tinson dropped beat as well. They dropped double support visibility. They used both the rally and the beat to engage. I don't think both are necessary at all, CP. I don't think both are necessary, considering that they did not have any other support ults on the side of Wavecheck. And Higan's coming up on the grab. So Ultraviolet must get trance, or Smex could also deny the value here. Because Smex, prolific, pretty good diva. Pretty good diva in the past, has eaten a lot of ults, has the diva bomb as well to peel.
Oh, Montreal holding back, Wavecheck looking for a way in. Higan gonna have a Graviton up pretty early into the fight, and they just might directly go to point using early Transcendence, hope that Graviton isn't up here. But for now, just playing footsie with the opposing team. Graviton up, it's what they might have been waiting for. Higan getting knocked back, still looking for the grab. Montreal holding back, and the Graviton comes out and only gets Smex on the top, and Smex is gonna be able to survive that. Brigida dying on the other side, and Wavecheck needed a much better Graviton for this fight to go their way.
There was no way that was the grab Higan was looking for. I feel like he mistimed the shot, or he got booped or anything, because he hit the corner. It wasn't even just a, right at the corner, not moved past the wall. That was directly on the wall. That was very much a wall grab that we just saw from Higan. Though it caught Smex, that was definitely not intentional. And now Montreal, they've won the fight. They've got removed grab from Wavecheck along with the rally, and they can just set up for another grab. And even if Wavecheck invest their support ults, Montreal's going to be fine with that because they can just rally back inward.
Okay, the funniest thing here would be if Crackalacken decides to go for the early bomb engage again, not realizing that Mistakes is set up once more on the flanking grab. They don't see Mistakes anywhere there, so they shouldn't realize it's coming. Graviton moves in, they force out the Transcendence. It's not the early bomb engage. Wavecheck still the chance. Both divas trading out bombs. Where's it going to fall? And Crackalacken gets 3 in from Wavecheck. It's a much better exchange for the offense. Garu going to be taking one for the ride. I'm not sure that's going to be enough to pull this back from Montreal. They're in a real rough spot.
I think that was quite possibly one of the best picks that Jakaro could have gotten. Removing the Zarya, no bubbles, no high energy finishers. Montreal, they have grab, they don't have to, or Montreal, they have trance, they don't have to worry about grab. They just need to play with Ultraviolet, but he dies!
Anymore! Ultraviolet dies before he can get back over to the point. And Wavecheck now in a much better spot. 2.5 minutes left. And Montreal desperately trying to bring this back. Facility gonna fall. A full 6 still up on the point here for Wavecheck. Transcendence in this time around for Montreal. But the window is passed. The bomb Crackalacken gets one more. And Wavecheck finishing with decent time remaining.
And that time Crackalacken's bomb got huge value. It wasn't the engage bomb, it was a peel bomb that we saw come out. And he got 3, and that was the opener. More important than anything else, Crackalacken's bomb. They weren't expecting that value. Jakaro was out looking for the pin on the grab. He wasn't, he was too far forward, wasn't there to shield for his backline at all. And Crackalacken is a player that has been in Contenders for a while, has a lot of experience, and has had great plays, but really has been cycled through from team to team. He was even on Fusion University at one point, and you saw his impact there for Wavecheck.
Crackalacken definitely been a bit of a journeyman in recent times in terms of just going from team to team, but that right there, that was a good moment. That's one you add to your highlight reel and go, oh yeah, this happened. And, even though I don't really think Wavecheck actually expected it a second time, I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of Mistakes constantly going for the hidden Gravitons, because now I think at this point, if you're Wavecheck, you're always doing math when you look at the other team and go, wait, do we see where the Zarya is? No? Okay, well, the Zarya is in a corner, and you should be ready to punish. I feel like that's the type of play you only get away with every now and then.
Stronger teams will definitely punish that sort of play. I think, because it's so easy where if it's a Zarya isolated by herself, you just walk into the Zarya, put a Matrix in her face so she can't grab, and then you just all shoot her and she's gone, right? Even if you get perfect peel, it's not the situation you want to be in, because now you've had to use all of your cooldowns to save your Zarya, maybe even using support ults pre-fight. So it's definitely something that Wavecheck should have been looking for, should have been noticing on the second entry, but kudos to Mistakes. It happened. They got it to work twice, and Montreal going to be on the triple DPS here for the offense.
Now we'll see for Mistakes. Does Mistakes go frontline Widow, or for Widow, do you decide to bring it over to the side path? And it looks like there's going to be a swap, and Mistakes on to what originally made him famous here on the Tracer.
I like this swap. So many teams are hesitant in going into what they need when they see this bunker composition, because Panic is on the Torb, it's a solo healer. for this bunker. When they see these compositions with the Orisa with the Hog, they want to try to shield break, or they want to play 3-3 and just root to point, which are valid. They're not wrong, but dive. You could just play dive, poke, set it up, and just all be on the same target at once, and that is the value of dive. That's the strength of dive when Brigida is not there to have armor pack, to have bash, to isolate anyone.
Mistakes, slowly crouch walking his way on over. Now gonna be heading over to the stairs to dive on the way in. Jakaru already down, but has it created an opening for Facility? Mistakes is the question. Mistakes on the backhand side. Tenza able to get Praklaken off the damage being applied, and now this is the chaos that dive loves. Tenza with 2, and even as Higan fights back, remember, as the numbers go down, Mistakes grows in power, already has 1, gets to dart around, less players his way, and ooh, Ice Wall actually block him from blinking in, but doesn't matter. It's enough chaos for Montreal to take advantage of, and Facility can have a blade for point B.
That is the power of just going dive, ZP, which, you know, a year ago you would have said you're crazy. Teams not going dive, but now teams have sort of forgotten often, especially when there's no Brigida on the field, to just go dive. And then Montreal makes it work, and it's Nano Blade time. It is Nano Blade time, though you see now that Jade has made the swap onto Brigida. If I'm Montreal, I get the Bizarria, and that's exactly what Mistakes does, and you bubble that blade. You have the armor pack from Specs too. You pocket this Nano Blade, and you go in knowing there's no support ults. All you have to do, all you have to counter is the sleep, the bash, and you know what's great against both of those? Armor pack, bubble.
Facility is in such a good spot right now. All the tools necessary are right behind him. Blade is out, the Nano is in. Let's see if Facility's gonna do with it. Already getting knocked away, looking for Brigida, gets 1, looks to the back, gets the Ana. And this is exactly how this needs to be played by Montreal. Executed to perfection. And Wave Check gonna be giving up a much quicker time here to Montreal.
See some little bit delay there for Juby's dancing around. Jade coming back on the Doomfist bash, taken down. As long as Montreal play tight, focus one target together, and don't allow anyone to die, they're in a fine spot.
Coming up from Montreal. Remember, Montreal just playing with so many ults in reserve, so many ults about to head back on up. Just a matter of dealing with some of the spawners coming out as Wave Check desperately hopes for a miracle. Doomfist a hero that sometimes can bring in such miracles. The good one shot. He didn't able to take down Jakaru. Might not be done just yet. Wave Check moving back in. A little bit more disruption out here from the Hammond. Danger looking to fall on another blade. Built on up. And this one should be the finisher here. Not bad delay though. Being bought by Wave Check, getting another extra minute off the clock. Still a much quicker time for Montreal.
4 minutes on the clock for Montreal. And you see some of the problems there as you get into a stall scenario of not having a Diva or Facility on the Brigida there. I mean, it took a while to finish. Because when you're playing Genji versus pure stall heroes, and you don't have a Discord orb either because Ultraviolet's on that Ana, it can take some time to finish off those targets. So it did take a while for Wave Check to get finished off completely on the point, but Montreal still with over double the amount of time on the time bank. And I really like the creativity of rather that those are one of the few instances is when you know Wave Check has no support ults, even if Wave Check goes to that Brigida and goes to some compositions that make the Genji not as viable, having the Nano for the Blade and just swapping to get a Zarya just so you can bubble it and have the Brigida for the armor pack, I think that's the instances of making a very creative push and knowing that it's a win condition that if you support it correctly, it's still fine.
Certainly works out for Montreal here. We're up 1-0 in the series. Would love to take Volskaya. Make this 2-0. Wave Check, meanwhile, going to be stuck here in the attack. Not a whole lot of time really afforded the Wave Check here either, where they're going to be coming in with the 3-3. About 2 minutes on the dot. So Montreal, again, going to be running with a more DPS-focused defense.
So Wave Check. You'll be entering here on the 3-3 to start out with. Probably they should look at this Montreal defense, and this is a time where, once again, the 3-3 isn't necessarily wrong. It is a valid comp to play against this, but it's a lot harder than if you just played dive when there's no Brigida for Montreal. And you see Wave Check now having to take these longer rotations, get to a position where they recharge their shields, their cooldowns, to come and take the fight on point, or even just go from the high ground and try to remove Montreal from the high ground. But while this is happening, Montreal's going to try to break shield, try to halt you off the high ground, all these options.
And Wave Check is doing another rotation all the way around into the Orisa. It does not work out. Smex sends Luft right into the icy lake behind. And Montreal just repelling this attack, and look at all the time that was drained off the clock by that long rotation that did not work.
You would think that WaveCheck would look at how Montreal just countered their own bunker composition, and it would take some notes and be like, well, you know, the dive was pretty good because we can just set up and punish the fact that there's no Brigida to instantly feel for our backline. But instead, it looks like they're going to be going counter bunker. They're getting looped onto the Orisa, they're getting again onto the Hog, and they're going to try to play counter shield break while Panic's on that Zen, which is also yet another valid option, but isn't the right option.
WaveCheck going to be moving in towards the left from their perspective. Going to be going to the high ground to move Orisa, but here's the difference is that Jakaro doesn't have to stay up there. Jakaro can just move on to the back. This rotation from WaveCheck is still eating a lot of clock. This is their final attempt now, and the Dragon from below going to be forcing a full scatter. And look at that, the isolation. Luft is down. The Dragon from Facility making all the difference there.
20 seconds left on this clock. They don't have left in the fight. WaveCheck, they need to just make sure not to die for right now. They can give some time. They can wait for Left. It's going to be coming back on the Hammond, but look at Montreal's ults. The Supercharger going to be up soon. The Bomb, they have Halt Bomb combo. They have the Valkyrie to keep everyone up. They have a Nano. If anyone gets Dove, there's a lot of options here.
Yeah, the fight facility. Get this off self-destruct from Smex directly on top of the point, but Panic gets two while this is going on. Facility now Nano, the rare Nano Hanzo. Storm Arrows, a lot of damage to be held. Now the Dragon Strike is up, but I don't think this one is going to be enough to bring the point back. WaveCheck, when everything was looking over, able to get here onto the point. Overtime going to be ticking down, but they'll get another 30 seconds to go for the miracle push in the point B, and do they have time to change this up? They're going to try.
This is one of those scenarios where I actually don't think you swap. You might swap Luft just to get the Reinhardt. Yes, but you keep the Hog and the D.Va simply because it's two ults. It's two ults that it's better to have no ults at all, even if Hog isn't great. Montreal now swapping onto a full 3-3 of their own, which is at its core better than the comp WaveCheck is running, but they also don't have any ults.
Hog here could actually be a threat. And nope, not in the least. Immediately stunned out of the whole Hog, so that's that. Meanwhile, Juby in real danger. Almost dies before beating. Self-destruct out from Crackwack, and now here comes the beat. Gonna connect, but not in time to save Luft. The sound just a little bit too slow. 5-on-5 though, Vizildi out of the fight saves Chikaru. WaveCheck on the assault. They move back over to the point. Have they done enough here? This is definitely a little bit dangerous here for Montreal. Transcendent's going to be heading on out even as Crackwack gets one more. Still not completely over for Montreal. Chikaru's going to be back to the fight soon. Earth Shatter going to be ready. Hook in from Hegan. WaveCheck still more members on the point. They're going to be getting real progress here soon. Chikaru comes back over. Earth Shatter ready, but Chikaru's down. The hook finishing it on out. And now WaveCheck adding progress to the point. Montreal in hot retreat. And WaveCheck gonna do it.
They make it work. WaveCheck, I mean, the whole Hog was effectively useless, CP, I have to say. The Hog wasn't really at all the finisher there. More importantly, what looked to be a recontest option when Ultraviolet had that Transcendence, Mistakes was so deep chasing for frags, he was isolated, and they couldn't keep Mistakes alive. If Mistakes had lived with that Trance and kept his energy, they would have had grab to recontest. They would have had grab. They probably would have been able to. But WaveCheck, finding the value they need, using the bomb to split those targets and just finish off one frag, which is what they did with Jkaru early. So they're still in it. There is a real chance for WaveCheck to win this map, but they can't get speedrun like how Montreal did for first and second last time.
Definitely not. But again, winnable. Much more winnable than if they didn't get point B, where if you only get point A, then it's like, are you really going to hold point A for 4 minutes, nearly 5? Probably not. Could you hold point B for that long? It's doable. It's very doable, or at the very least, draining the clock down to make the opposition do it in overtime and even things up once more. But meanwhile, for Montreal, they're not even going to do early scouting this time the way they did before. They're just going to assume that it's a bunker on the other side, and they're going to open up here on the dive.
Which is a smart play. I think it's a very smart play for Montreal. You're playing fast-moving characters. You go see, what is WaveCheck playing? Do we need to swap 3-3? Because if not, they're already on the comp they need. But if they do need to, they're playing characters that get there very quickly. When you look at WaveCheck's comp, though, they're playing bunker. They're playing bunker with the triple tank, with the Hog, with the D.Va. They also have Jade on the Widow. And this is definitely a scenario where there's no Zen on the field. They also don't have any space control whatsoever. It's just Jade on that Widow that has have any sort of long-range damage. No Panic is on the Honest of something there.
Oh, immediate pick-off from Jade. And I actually don't like Montreal is running here, because on one
I
hand,
think the dive is still great against this. I think dive is actually still perfectly valid against
I don't know why they swapped off of dive, because if you're trying to run Widow against Widow, and one Widow has a shield and the other doesn't, your Widow without a shield is not going to be anywhere near as effective. It's actually very difficult, and he can't. How are you going to get the hook pick off? Wave check for now is in firm control.
I think now that Montreal, the comp that Montreal is running, aside from the Hanzo, I sort of think the Genji would still be a lot better here, because Genji's great against Hog, because when the hook comes out, you can sit there and reflect in front of him to stop any of that damage. But they're going to be running Hanzo, which is still all right, but Jade, so far, with the damage, was running pick after pick.
There's a shot directly to the gut of Mistakes there. And the other thing, too...
How does Jade live?
I have no idea.
Slept, gets antied, and Smex is not able to finish it up? That's unreal.
The other thing, too, about the setup is that you don't have the snowball potential. You don't have the nano blade heading to point B. Dragon Strike just is nowhere near as good as Dragon Blade. Pile driver, though, nice setup off the sleep. Montreal's able to get in there. Now, a clear man advantage. I don't have to worry about the Hog. That's going to free up Smex for more room. And the ideal here, they need to go in and not lose the EMP. Smex getting awfully low. Montreal looks for a way in. Going to get the Mercy.
Facility finding one. Actually, Mistakes didn't really see the Ana in the corner, but now this should be the flip. Facility up on the high ground, though, is going to be picked up, but Montreal still in point presence here. They have the better health, they have the better control, they even have EMP if they need it, which they should not. They definitely don't want to use EMP here, so they can snowball.
And they're going to get to save it. This is exactly what Montreal needed going to next point, where they could still very easily set a time over a minute. And this is pretty grim for Wave Check, where they're going to need just the nano of the gods, and I think they need it on Orion. I don't think a nano Winston is anywhere near enough to hold off the storm that's on the way.
I like that Montreal is also, even though they have some of those ults, they just swap the Sombra Goats. They swap Sombra Goats, they get Jakar on the Orion, they get Mistakes on the Zarya, and now they don't have to really worry about losing someone on point and then losing the fight because they don't have enough meat. They're playing Sombra Goats. They can just move towards the point, force Wave Check to engage, and actually they're going to nano that loop very early, but the EMP denies all follow-up.
Go for the Nano Winston, the EMP comes in, but actually I think this worked out okay. Going on in, the Nano buys plenty of time. Self-destruct gonna catch exactly one. Montreal still 2 minutes. Looking for a way in, 5-on-5. Luke's gonna be back to the battle soon, and Wave Check hanging in there, buying time for Luke to get back to the fight. Juby getting low, but gets away from the pressure, and Montreal, they're gonna need the backup and reset to a degree.
Mistakes will be back relatively soon, and Specs is already 90%. To another EMP. Panic does not have the nano this time either. They don't have Crackle like a bomb to zone. They can move forward aggressively. They can look for the EMP.
EMP's up here once more. This time, we'll be hitting 3. Jade gonna fall on one side. 6-on-5 for Montreal. Crackle still a little bit further back as a result. But Jakaro falls.
Jakaro falls. Ultraviolet so low here, ZP. Ultraviolet must live. He's down.
Mistakes getting pick-off after pick-off right now. Leading the charge here for Montreal, even with Jakaro being down. Mistakes is a huge threat in the front line. Now Montreal adding to the progress, a minute 24 left. Moving on in. Mistakes getting real close, getting a grab. Luke, though, back into the fight. They get one. Again, Montreal find themselves thrown back, quite literally, in Mistakes' case.
Montreal has continuously, despite, that was the fight they should have won. That was the fight they 100% should have won, but Specs is dropping EMPs way too early, ZP. I'm watching this engage. They move forward. They get poked. They know there's no ults. And Montreal, because of the composition they're running, they can force Wave Check to just come to point and fight them and then EMP. But Specs is just throwing Translocator and dropping that EMP early for the entry when there was really only 2 people that they could catch. They didn't even get the rest of Wave Check. They just needed to wait and bring them to point and then drop the EMP.
Montreal back to point one more time. They open up with the Graviton from the stakes. Jakaro there for the fall through. Juby already down. Jakaro looking for more. Jakaro has 2 here so far, holding on to the Shatter. Self-destruct. Easily dealt with. They just back on out. Panic, though, finds Mistakes. All the damage from Mistakes is gone. And Montreal down to their final 25 seconds. Shield about to be broken. Pronto finds one on the other side. Jakaro coming back on in. Shatter ready to go. And they just need to move in.
I mean, they have to take this fight, but they don't have Mistakes. They know that Hagandaz has the trans. There's the EMP Shatter. There's the rally. They need to get Hagen. They need to get Hagen. They know he has. Grab, it's over. It's done. That should be it.
Montreal, they need every last bit of time, but Wave Check, they're still not completely out of it yet. They used the beat. They're waiting for respawns. Crackalacken ends up buying time, but was it going to be buying time for Juby? Ends up following Montreal. It's a much better spot. Luft finding himself in real danger. Hacked can't use the Shatter, even though he has it. Hack about to fall. Is there going to be a Shatter out? No, not in the least. Montreal just finishing up player after player here in Volskaya. And now we move into another set of rounds.
Another set of rounds, 1 minute for both teams. They both finished with no time left on the clock. So they will have to play one final set of rounds, the 1 minute for both squads. And I look at Montreal, and they made the right swaps. They had the good offense. They had the right ult economy, but Smex just kept throwing EMPs a little bit too early, and the mistakes was getting caught by Panic. Panic continually finding some value as in this series, and along with Crackalack's bombs. But all Smex has to do is tighten up those EMPs, tighten up those hacks that he's getting and the follow-up, and when he's doing them, and I think his Somber play will be vastly improved, and that Montreal overall will look a lot better with him. Something you touched upon earlier, how Smex, he has the mechanics, just not quite the timing yet.
Again, Smex is kind of giving me Baby Bay vibes on the Sombra, where the classical, hey, your mechanics are pretty decent so far in the hero. You're able to build EMPs pretty quickly. But the finesse of getting good EMPs or even getting good hacks at times, a little bit elusive at times for Montreal. Now as we head into final rounds, it's going to be Wave Check on the attack first. And I think one key difference that needs to happen, Wave Check, they've had a sluggish offense on point A. They take a long time in the rotations. You're in final minute territory. You need to go.
We see Montreal playing their 3-3 here with Ultraviolet with the Ana just to be safe. And Wave Check playing a pretty standard 3-3 themselves, which is the right play. They need to take this fight fast. They're running Xin. So when you get to the Ana here, ZP, all Montreal wants to do is A, build Primal with J-Kara getting those rotations, getting the cleave, and Ultraviolet wants to get Nano early from the damage. So Wave Check need to get a Discord, need to isolate here, and the best target to do it is J-Kara, who's going to be looking for this cleave anyways. If they can burn him with that Discord on these corners, they're in a great position. But they're swapping to Orisa, to Hog. They're taking a swap. I mean, they'll have some time, but this is going to take not only 30 seconds off the clock already, if not more, 40 seconds. But now they're a lot less likely to be able to punish.
Well, we said they need to be swift, and instead is going to be a bit of sluggishness on the way out here from Wave Check. Move on over. Early pressure on the way in. They get Chikaro, though. And patience might be paying off. Now they've the opportunity going forward. They're going to get the D-Mech. Essentially two-man advantage. Wave Check with the ability now to head towards the point. You got to touch it. They move on forward. Yubi putting the body on the point there, making sure there is no C9 opportunity. Stakes under heavy pressure. Going to fall, and Wave Check going to be walking away here with point A, 5-4.
J-Kara got too aggressive there. When you're playing against a Hog and a D.Va and a Xin, as Winston looking for cleave damage, when you can get halted and pulled in any sort of manner of those things, while Jade also has Brigida to bash, he had essentially 5 threats. 5 threats to worry about ZP, and he didn't even have Bubble, and he peeked on the corner. Didn't have Bubble, peeked on the corner again, didn't jump away quick enough, and he was punished for it. So Wave Check, they made the right play in the end. They punished the Winston. They just made a swap to do it, took some time off the clock.
And with Transcendence in play, there's no Zen on the other side. This is real snowball potential on the way here for Wave Check, as Montreal desperately hoping to hold them off. Final 10 seconds, Wave Check moving on in. They know they have the advantage. They use the Transcendence immediately. They bring the fight over to Chikaro, though. Look for knockoff to the other side. Chikaro getting awfully close to the lake himself. Whole Hog Pegan sends Smex flying. Wave Check already up 1. They use the beat and they commit. Chikaro's out of the fight. The front line for Montreal is gone. And Wave Check, they get stuck with the grab, but the fall through just not there. And this is going to be a 6th capture point coming on in for Wave Check, unless Montreal can somehow bring this back in one form or another. The hook on the way in, the bomb to the back. Not going to be doing much. And Wave Check looking very good.
This is definitely done 100%. Now Montreal, they're just staggering out here, giving ult to Wave Check. And that is a scenario where you simply can't lose those people early. You simply can't lose those people early. And that's also where J-Kara can't get caught early on first. Both of those. The Wave Check, they get the 6 CP. They get the 6 caps. Now, do we see the almost never seen an equally incredible counter 6 cap from Montreal for the draw? But because if they get 6, do we keep on having infinite rounds? I don't even remember. Or is it just a draw?
Well, one way or another, what we're going to see is Montreal seeing if they can even get to that 6th point. Moving on out here, where I think it's pretty unlikely that we enter that scenario. I mean, Wave Check on their own being able to take point A and snowballing it, especially after the late swap, where usually it's not a good idea. They only gave themselves 1 attack for point A. And then because Chikaro gets caught, as you had just mentioned, it makes it much more difficult for Montreal to even consider bringing it back. And now they have to speed run their way through. Try and even things out here now versus WaveCheck.
And ideally, if you're Montreal, you end up in a situation what WaveCheck's situation was going into that fight, where you win first and you retain ult for second. Because if you don't have any ult for second, the possibility, the chance of snowballing it and getting that full cap is extremely unlikely. And that is what Montreal has to do here, is they have to not only win first, but retain at least one good ult per second to finish.
Again, going to be staying back here with the Mei. And I mean, WaveCheck very clearly interested in clock killing more than anything else. Also, you run a more gimmicky setup, which a lot of people consider Torbjorn Mei to be, where, you know, you're kind of venturing into clockwork territory. And Jade finds Ultraviolet immediately. And that's going to be slowing down Montreal and really just buys them a fight in full.
I think Facility should swap Genji or Hanzo right now. I think you should get the Genji or Hanzo.
There it is.
There it is. Genji or Hanzo right now. They actually are going 2-2-2. They're not even playing triple DPS. They're going to go for a full dive setup here. They don't even want to have the time to set up that you need for triple DPS. 2-2-2 with the D.Va, with Specs on that D.Va. They're in a much better position to just take the fight aggressively and just go when there's little time on the clock.
Well, they need to make sure someone is on the point at all times as they rotate around into this. WaveCheck could be coalescing around the Orisa barrier. Here we go. Jakaru leaping on in. Already low. Hook going to finish him. However, the opportunity does allow them to dislodge Orisa from the top. Smex finding Widow on the other side. Not quite over yet. Montreal on their final approach, but oh! Back and forth we go. Crackalack able to take down one, and Panic on the fall through. 2 from the Torb. Just going wild
3.
at the point. And that is WaveCheck repelling Montreal on point A. WaveCheck evening up the series 1-1.
And when you see there, once again, Jkaru going too deep on the dive. He too ambitious. He jumps in, has the bubble to keep him up, and then chases for the Mercy and just gets hooked and killed with a damage boosted hook. And that's something you can't have. You can't over dive. You can't go past your D.Va's Matrix when you're running into a Hog, into a Torb, into Orisa. You have to be perfectly coordinated because they will punish the Winston. That is your #1 punish target.
Also, I think from the Winston player point of view, you're not really up against Hog all that often nowadays. So it's easy to forget these things where there's kind of a flow chart you have to keep in mind in your head as you're playing the tank role in particular, going, okay, don't do this because Hog. Easy to forget. And as you say, chases a little bit too deep, ends up getting caught by the Hog, ends up falling, and then the rest of the push just put in a really awkward position for the rest of the team. And credit where credit's due, the WaveCheck here, where not only was that a good defense at the end, but let's talk about their offense. Their offense went from point A to point B with only a minute, and it was after a swap where they left themselves only one push. However, it does go back to that same linking point of they caught Jakaru.
Catching Jakaru. I mean, it's just, you got to catch them all, and Jkaru is one of those. And they caught him multiple times, in fact. They had the master ball, if anything. I don't know how, you just can't get caught that often when you're looking to run, especially against Hog or Orisa setups, where their whole goal is to punish you. And even for me, more so than that, is Panic. I mean, Panic's Torb, everyone loves some good Torb play. Everyone likes that. That's the power of the turret. And his Zen has still continuously found value as well. He's getting key picks where he needs to. So WaveCheck continuously looking stronger against, but remember, we have to temper our expectations. This is essentially a brand new Montreal lineup as well.
Yeah. And
I would argue, in addition, that even though they are brand new, they are looking much better than what Revival's brand new lineup looked previously.
Well, you know what helps in all that? Having Academy team support. Where Revival, they're going on its own. Montreal, of course, have been very interested in developing new talent and bringing that talent up to the Overwatch League, really kind of matching what Atlanta's been doing. But either way, it is even here after 2 maps of play. We'll be back with you after the jump to find out who's going to take it.